The rain was a greasy curtain plastered against the windows of my office, mirroring the feeling in my gut. Whiskey didn't help. It never did. It just muffled the shouting, the lies, the feeling that I was wading through something rotten. Lila Monroe's case. It clung to me like the damp chill seeping through the floorboards. She's the kind of dame who could make a saint confess his sins, money dripping from every pore, a face that could launch 1,000 ships, and eyes that hid more than they revealed. Her husband Arthur had vanished a week ago, disappeared into thin air, leaving behind a fortune in textiles and a trail of whispers about antiquities. He was involved in something dangerous, Mr. Harding, she said, her voice a silken thread barely concealing the tremor beneath. Something old like the hieroglyphic locket she'd shown me. Heavy, ornate, cool against my palm. This belonged to Arthur. He kept it locked away. He said it held a secret worth vanishing for, or burying. Blackwood, Edward Blackwood, Arthur's business partner, the man who's been playing the concerned benefactor since Arthur's disappearance. Calm, collected, too damn calm. He's the kind of man who oils his conscience with expensive cigars and smooth promises. Seldom Marco, my messenger, a nervous wisp of a man practically vibrating in the doorway, cleared his throat. Mr. Harding, Mr. Blackwood requests your presence at Crestwood, immediately. Something urgent? I asked, swirling the amber liquid in my glass. Sal wrung his hands. He didn't say, just immediate. Crestwood, Blackwood's mansion, a fortress of wealth overlooking the city. The air itself felt heavy with unspoken power. The drive was a blur of rain-slicked streets and looming shadows. Blackwood greeted me in his study, a room designed to intimidate. Mahogany desk, leather-bound books, the portrait of a stern-looking ancestor gazing down from the wall. He was impeccably dressed, as always. His face was an impassive mask. Mr. Harding, thank you for coming so promptly. His voice was smooth, controlled. I believe we have something to discuss. He gestured to a chair. I sat, the leather creaking under my weight. I've been reviewing Arthur's records, Blackwood continued, and I'm afraid I've uncovered a rather disturbing pattern. Disturbing how? He was acquiring antiquities, Egyptian artifacts, to be precise, and not the legitimate kind, Mr. Harding. These were unusual. You mean stolen? Blackwood's lips curled slightly. Let's just say their provenance is questionable. He handed me a file. Inside were photographs of pottery shards, fragments of statuary, and detailed records of transactions with shadowy intermediaries. I recognized one photograph immediately, a shard of pottery found at warehouse number 7, the one Sal had mentioned earlier, the place where a worker claimed to have seen Arthur a few days before he disappeared. Warehouse 7, I murmured, recalling the mud and the unsettling feeling I'd gotten there. Precisely, Blackwood said, his eyes fixed on mine. It seems Arthur was involved in something far more complex than simple textile importing. And you think this has something to do with his disappearance? I do. I believe he stumbled upon something he shouldn't have. Something that put him in considerable danger. Who would want him gone? Blackwood paused, his gaze drifting towards the portrait of his ancestor. There are those who deal in secrets, Mr. Harding. People who will go to any length to protect their interests. People who operate outside the law. You mean the collector? I asked, recalling Lila's hushed whisper. Blackwood's expression didn't change. A rather colourful name, wouldn't you say? I'm not sure who this collector might be, but I suspect he's the key to Arthur's disappearance. Suddenly, a shrill voice cut through the dense silence. Lila Monroe stood in the doorway, a face pale and drawn. Edward, what are you telling him? She'd practically spat the words. Blackwood turned to her, his composure momentarily fractured. Lila, I'm merely explaining the situation. You're manipulating him. You've been manipulating us both. Lila, please, Blackwood said, but she ignored him. Arthur was onto something, she continued, her voice rising. He was close to uncovering the truth. He found proof of illegal activities, a network of corruption that reaches far beyond anything we could have imagined. Proof? I asked, my hand instinctively reaching for my holster. Yes, Lila said, her eyes darting nervously around the room. He kept it locked away, a hieroglyphic locket, just like the one you showed me. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. The locket. The key to everything. Suddenly, the door burst open and 2 men in dark suits stormed into the room. They moved with a terrifying efficiency, their eyes cold and calculating. Mr. Blackwood, one of them said, his voice devoid of emotion. We have a situation. Blackwood's face tightened. What is it? Lila Monroe is missing. The room seemed to tilt. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. Missing, Blackwood repeated, his voice barely a whisper. But how? I looked at Lila. She was gone, vanished into thin air, just like her husband. My eyes sailed to Blackwood's suit. A dark crimson stain bloomed on the lapel, spreading slowly across the pristine fabric. The crimson stain told a story of secrets, betrayal, and a collector who was always watching. The rain continued to lash against the windows, washing away the pretense, leaving behind only the cold, hard truth. I was caught in a web of deceit, and I knew, with a certainty that settled heavy in my bones, that I was next.